Welcome to a deep dive, crafted just for you. We aim to give you that well-informed edge, without all the usual information overload. Today, we're slicing through the noise, getting right to the heart of, well, what really matters in a pretty fascinating piece of source material. We're looking at an excerpt from the New York Times, published today, June 25th, 2025. The title is Cuomo and Mamdani, NYC Mayoral Primary Dynamics. Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. Let's get right into it. What's immediately striking, I think, is how this title signals we're not just looking at, like, who's running, but the whole strategic interplay
Exactly. Yeah.
between these two pretty significant figures in New York City politics.
And that word dynamics is fascinating, isn't it? It primes us right away.
Mm-hmm.
It suggests it's not just about who's ahead in the polls, but how their campaigns are actually interacting. The tensions, the strategies they're deploying.
Right.
It immediately points to a narrative of action and reaction more than just a simple popularity contest.
Oh. Absolutely. And when you see names like Cuomo and Mamdani together, well, you instantly start thinking about what each one represents in the New York political landscape, right?
Yeah, they bring different histories, different constituencies.
And the article gives some really compelling insights here. For instance, the piece highlights how the Cuomo campaign is leaning pretty heavily into an appeal towards stability, established experience.
Mm-hmm. Like a steady hand?
Yeah, exactly. It describes this strategy focused on like broad outreach to moderate Democrats and also independent voters, emphasizing that sort of steady leadership for the city.
That tracks. And the Times piece, it details how Cuomo's team is really leveraging his extensive network. The article calls it deep-seated community ties, I think,
That's something like that.
to activate a more, let's say, traditional voter base.
Yeah.
And it notes their focus is maybe less on flashy rallies
Yeah.
and more on that structured, really targeted outreach.
Right.
Trying to consolidate support among folks who value, a proven track record. It's classic coalition building, really. Very much about working with existing power structures.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting, especially when you contrast it with Mamdani's approach as the article details it.
Definitely.
The reporting paints a picture of a campaign that's, well, it seems like a masterclass in grassroots mobilization.
Yeah. Completely different vibe.
They're explicitly targeting a younger, more progressive demographic. The article showcases their innovative digital stuff and this really robust ground game in places like Astoria, parts of Brooklyn.
Precisely. The article points out Mamdani's campaign isn't just about policy points, right? It's about energy, a fresh vision for the city.
Mm-hmm.
It even mentions their significant success with small dollar donations.
Yeah.
That's always a key indicator of grassroots enthusiasm,
Good point.
and how they've effectively used social media to just amplify their core messages, things like affordable housing, climate justice. It's a very different electoral calculus. It's all about mobilizing voters within specific, highly motivated blocks rather than those broad-based appeals.
So you've got these two really distinct strategies playing out. One focused on experience, networks, the establishment maybe. The other on grassroots energy, progressive change.
Right.
And the article really digs into how these two approaches are, well, clashing. It highlights a recent internal poll cited by the Mamdani campaign.
Oh, yeah. What did it say?
It suggested they've significantly narrowed the gap in some key progressive areas, while Cuomo, holds a lead among older and maybe more centrist voters.
And see, that's the heart of the dynamics the article is talking about.
Exactly.
It's not just a difference in platform. It's this strategic battle for the future direction of the Democratic Party in New York City.
Yeah.
The piece even details specific moments, like that recent debate exchange,
Mhm.
where Mamdani went right at Cuomo on public transit funding.
I remember reading about that.
Yeah, the article described it as a really clear effort to draw a sharp contrast, energize his base. It wasn't just policy talk. It was a narrative-shaping move.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture then, understanding these early strategic moves and the distinct voter bases each candidate is really courting, it gives you a significant head start, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
In grasping the broader political narrative as this whole primary unfolds. It's not just about who wins, but how they win and maybe what kind of mandate they might carry into the general election.
And it raises an important question, too. In a primary this tight, how do these really distinct strategic choices, like, the traditional outreach versus these grassroots digital campaigns, how do they not only reflect the candidate's own philosophies, but actually shape the city's political future? It really shows you the fault lines in the current political landscape pretty clearly.
So for you, the listener, the real takeaway from this article isn't just that these two are running, it's how the New York Times is dissecting their individual approaches to campaigning.
Yeah, the mechanics of it.
These approaches that reflect these broader shifts in urban political strategy. It's kind of a glimpse into the strategic chess match being played out for the city's top job.
Definitely.
So as you go about your day, maybe consider this. How might these contrasting campaign dynamics influence not just the primary outcome itself, but maybe the broader policy debates and ultimately the future direction of New York City? What subtle shifts in, urban political strategy might this particular race signal for elections down the road? Something to think about.